Live. Good morning, everyone. This is episode, what is it, 246? 246. Being recorded whenever the hell it is, sometime in early February. Oh, hell, I've got this. I'm now listening to a advert on Twitch, which I'm going to have to get rid of once I find the window. Oh, Christ. I've got way too many tabs open.
Aren't you the one with like multiple screens?
Yes, I am.
Maybe that doesn't help in this case.
There it is. Right, good. Sorry about that. I had 4 Chrome windows open, but it was actually in a Firefox window. So, oops.
There you go.
All right, so our guests are Fiona and Dekion, members of Utini Nights and Utini Rage, of course. And they will tell us all about themselves when Chill does a proper intro in a minute. All right, let me do a final confirmation. You guys are both recording and you are listening, and it is definitely the right device. You can see the little waveform jumping up and down when you talk.
Yes, I certainly can.
And you,
Dekion?
Everything's go.
Yes. If anything seems a little strange about the way those guys are talking, it's because of the fact they record co-located and recording in the same room. Is that okay to say, or do you want me to delete that later?
Well,
We're just recording in the same room.
Yes. Yep.
Okay. We are talking about the fact that you're a couple, right?
Oh, yeah.
I thought that was part of the whole...
that.
I thought that was the whole... like one of the reasons to have you on at the same time, but maybe I was wrong.
Well,
yeah, that's fine. It's true.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's fine. But we don't live together, so you don't need to lie.
Right.
Honesty is definitely the best policy, so that's fine. But anyway, just the fact that 2 people recording in the same room adds some complexity to the situation. When we recorded together at the Utini Cantina in Las Vegas, we just used a single mic, which is that made life easier. But of course, we all had to be rather cozy together, and yes. Anyway, less said about that.
That would work too.
It would, but that's okay. We're going to do this. Let's stop missing a boot because we have a lot to cover. Let me just get my show notes up.
Audacity is rolling.
Sorry about the stream. I just got to find the right window. There it is. Yeah, unfortunately the stream disappears when I swap windows. Where's my OBS? It's here somewhere. There it is, so I can see you guys. Alright. Blah, 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 blah. Alright, you guys do have the show notes. I can see you logged in. Yep. Alright. I think we're good. And Chill, you are recording?
Mm-hmm. I am recording, and I'm ready to go. I'll go in 5.
Okay.
Hi, and welcome to the OotiniCast, the podcast that puts compressors on... God damn it. I'll start over.
Chill, do you have your setup on studio?
Yes, I do.
All right.
I hate messing up a word on the first sentence.
Take 2. You really
what are you
do
going to do?
Yeah.
Hi, and welcome to the OotiniCast, the podcast that puts compressors on all its ignition lines. This is episode 246, being recorded on Wednesday, February 3rd, 2016. I'm your host, Chill, with our producer and co-host, Tio. Hi, Tio.
Hey, guys.
And we've got 2 first-time guests today. We've got Dekion and Fiona, or Fee, if you prefer. And Dekion, go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started in SWTOR.
I have been a Star Wars fan since it came out. When SWTOR started becoming public and the advertisements started, you'd see it on the web, started drumming up interest. I knew it was something that I definitely wanted to do.
Right.
I've been a subscriber since day one. I have my founder title. Played pretty good for about a year, and then kind of fell away. Life got in the way. And then I came back about a year and a half, 2 years later. The only thing is that I actually never canceled my subscription, and so it kind of nice to log in for that first time again and have about 5,000 cartel coins from monthly allowances.
Right.
I never really got into the MMO part of SWTOR. I enjoyed doing the PvE content, leveling up the characters. And Fee and I would always play together. We would level up. I had a bounty hunter, and she had an agent, and we would just run around the planets and kind of Benny Hill our way through everything.
And how did you guys meet? And was it in the guild, or did you know each other in real life, or how did this work out?
We actually met at work. So
okay, cool.
Once we decided to finally start playing the game seriously, and I think that was when we tried to join a pug, and again, we didn't know anything about anything. Somebody in the pug, I would not call it gently, told us, but wanted to let us know that as a bounty hunter, I really didn't need cunning, and as an agent, Fiona really didn't need strength. So we decided to kind of get into things and started reading guides, started hitting some of the more popular community sites, and then we actually found Mariah, who is a fellow guildmate from Utini.
Right.
And she kind of really helped us out. She invited us to do a couple of raids, which we'd never done before.
Oh yeah.
And after a couple of weekends of that, we decided, hey, let's join this guild. Let's be a little bit more social and have a little bit of fun. While we're grinding our way through, trying to get to level 50. And it's been pretty much the same since. I've leveled up 11 characters to level 60.
Nice.
I've gone through coffee. I'm actually starting my 7th alt through coffee, which is actually that first bounty hunter. And I still do enjoy the PvE and the story, but we're also now starting to do a lot more flashpoints, getting into a bit of group content, and really kind of jumping into it as an MMO.
Right. So just occasional operations, but mostly like flashpoints and leveling.
Correct. Because of the story and the way that they've changed things, especially during the Shadow of Revan, where if we were the same class, we couldn't share a lot of the experiences together anymore.
Right.
We decided, what? Let's play the game the way it was meant to be experienced, which meant no XP boosts, no 12 XP. Let's not, try to just run through it. I ran through my Sith Assassin from 0 to 65 in a weekend, using 12 XP boosts and just doing only story missions.
Right.
Didn't really get a lot of fun out of it. I just wanted to get her to 65 with the titles instead of doing an Insta 60.
Right.
So we decided last weekend that we were going to start brand new characters. We call them our baby alts, and we were going to play every mission on the planet. So we both rolled Jedis, started out on Tython, and 6 hours and 17 levels later, we finally finished the planet.
Wow.
So I'm not really sure that they've balanced the XP perfectly yet, but it was fun, and we were definitely overpowered by the end, by about hour 3.
Yeah, you're overpowered for Coruscant at that point.
Exactly, yes.
Excellent. All right, now Fiona, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started in SWTOR.
Okay, this was my first ever game, MMO. We played, Dekian and I played co-op. Shoot, I can't remember the name of the game.
First-person shooter? Oh, Portal.
Co-op Portal, which was my very first thing, on a console, which was terrible. But then he was so into, this new Star Wars game and get the game. And so we got the game, and I started playing and was angry probably 98% of the time, trying to move around, trying to learn how, to hit the keys and use the mouse at the same time, because I've never done anything like this before.
Yeah.
So yeah, we leveled an agent and a bounty hunter. And then the first character I made was actually Fiona, the sage, which I play most often now. And then we decided it was going to be way more fun to be evil in the Empire, so we did that. So we forgot about our little Jedis for a while.
Right.
So yeah, been playing the whole time the game's been available, gone with all of the changes, kind of slowed down, sped up, 12 XP, won the world, all that kind of stuff. And now I have another Fiona. I'm always Fiona or Princess Fiona. So if you see me on the Imp side, I'm Princess Fiona. If you see me on the Republic side, I'm Fiona of some sort. So I have, what is it, a kinetic combat shadow. So I'm doing a tank. So I don't know what I'm doing. I'm crazy. But I just like to learn all the things. So that's what I'm doing. And yeah, so now we're on the fleet. Our babies are on the fleet. And we're going to Coruscant via the Essels, which apparently is how you're supposed to get there.
That's right. That's old school.
Yeah. So, but we never do flashpoints. Like, I'd be like, no, never. No, I'm not playing with anyone else. They're going to yell at me and tell me I don't know what I'm doing. And we did have some experiences where people are like, no, we're not playing with you. You don't know what you're doing. And they just kick us from the group. So, it's like,
oh, dear. Well, it's a first-time game for everyone, so, what are you going to do?
One thing that I'd like to add is that the very first Flashpoint we did, we only did because we were trying to get our HK droid. And that was the False Emperor.
Right.
And we actually met a couple of really, really nice players who literally explained everything on our way through. And they were
all the boss mechanics and everything.
Everything. And we looked at them as almost like Superman because, they would just walk into a room and everything would die. And so, we decided at that point, that's what we wanted to do. We wanted to kind of help people, if they're a low level character and they needed some help or they needed some guidance, that's what we wanted to do. And, we've helped several people come through and it's really cool doing that.
That's awesome. Do you guys normally play together or do you just play separately just as much as together?
Mostly we play together. Dekion plays during the week. I do not because I'm in school.
Okay.
And so on weekends, I'm up here and we play together. Sometimes I'll sign on during the week, but not anymore. Not a lot anymore. And it's disappointing to have not been doing the Jar Jar Joyride, which we were trying to make a big thing.
Yeah.
But my computer at home just doesn't do well anymore. It's a 2011 Mac that's been boot camped and it's chugging along, but it's rough. So I don't really play a lot at home. So usually we're together and we're usually playing together. Sometimes we're playing separately. Sometimes we're playing with Dredd, who just made a comment on chat. So yeah. But yeah, it's been great. And I think part of this is kind of cool too. Part of what really started us getting interested in playing with other people was OotiniCast because Deck found it and was like, "Oh, you got to listen to this thing on crafting and this guy and this podcast." And it was Bill talking about crafting for one of the expansions. And I was like, "No way! I had no idea that abundance and bountifuls and all those are different." And I didn't know a thing. So then we got involved. We met Mariah, like Deck said. We met you guys. We ran. I don't even remember what we ran, but it's funny now to see people in the guild and be like, "Oh yeah, he was with us when that first one we did." So it's fun. So thank you guys for getting us more involved.
Well, you're welcome. Sounds like you guys. That's great that you have that thing as a couple together. I know, and in my case, I tried with my wife, and she's a Star Wars fan. She was a Star Wars fan, but just wasn't into the MMO thing. I would have loved to have played with her more, though. But I'm glad that it's working out for you guys. And I know Tio, of course, Ari is also a fan of SWTOR. And do you guys often play together, though?
Not for a while. The introduction of our daughter into our lives has made that somewhat problematic.
Yes. I imagine. Before that, though, you were trying to play together quite a bit?
Yeah, and it was fun. It really was.
Yeah. Excellent. All right. Was there anything else, Fiona, before we move to Tio's week?
Oh, I don't. Actually, what I did this week, last weekend, let's talk about that. I finally got the Most Wanted title for killing and capturing all the henchmen and kingpins.
Congratulations.
And so I've been trying to get Trubba forever. And like the middle of trying to get this silly character named Trubba, which of course is a wordplay on trouble, I start singing Taylor Swift and I can't get it out of my head. So I'm singing. It's terrible. But I got the title. I was very excited. We were very upset that no one was on the guild to see it, but oh well. I got it.
Awesome.
Nice.
Excellent. All right. Tio, how about your week?
Not too much. I did do the heroics on Balmora and Taros, just doing them all. I actually did my own spreadsheet, which I'm starting to build up. So noting which of the heroics are instanced, which aren't, how long they took me, that kind of thing. More of a personal record than anything else, so I can go back and just do the instance ones or the open world ones that weren't too painful. So, but yeah, I've also been working on a little project, something suggested by our friend Greg Armagregan on Twitter, something that could be useful for us and the guild, so and just generally. So we'll see how that goes. It'll be on OotiniCast.com sometime soon, hopefully within a week, depending on how long it takes me. Also in game, I'm sorting out my cargo bay, which, as you'll hear later, is going to get a hell of a lot easier. But so once I heard that news, I stopped doing that. But more on that later.
Yes.
And finally, something I've been thinking about. As you know, I've been a little perturbed by the fact that you cannot do old school slow style leveling anymore. That is, with the extra XP, the 6 times XP from Planetary Arc and your class story. That's all you need to do to get from 1 to 50. So what I was wondering is, if I did Planetary Arc, class story, but all the exploration missions as well, would that get me from 1 to 65? So, because, of course, it's all level synced, and thus the XP rewards will actually scale up once you over-level them. So, in theory, it should still be relatively challenging. Even though you would, in theory, out-level because you're getting extra XP from the exploration missions. Not much, but enough to push you up. So would that get me all the way where I didn't have to bother with the other storylines?
Yeah.
So I'll give it a go, see what happens.
Okay. What class? Do you know what class you're going to do that with?
No, I've got them all, so don't know, actually. I'll think about it.
Either which class story you want to see again, or maybe from Dark Side, Light Side, or
probably a Dark Side
romance, whatever. Yeah.
I hear Dark Side Console Art Chill is actually quite interesting.
I found it interesting. Yeah, definitely gave it a different flavor.
Okay, maybe I'll do that.
That actually is what I'm doing. I've done all of my Sage Consulars. I've done Light Side because it just fits. I'm doing her on Dark Side this time, so my kinetic combat Shadow is going to be Dark Side, and it's a little bit disconcerting. I'm like,
it is,
no!
isn't it?
Yeah, but it's fun. It's really fun.
Yeah, and they find some interesting ways to sort of make it work into the story. So, yeah. All right, Teal, was there anything else for your week?
That's it for me. Over to you, Joe.
All right. Let's give a quick shout out to the chat room. All right. Aria's here. Brigade 4407. Delegant, Darth Brundlefly, Dekion, Dreadex, Durregi. Fiona is here. Gahana, Jawkins, Palais, Siskayetka, and Tickleberg are all here. Hello, everyone. And let's see, I was sick twice this week. Not just once, but twice. And the worst time being late Saturday through yesterday. In fact, you can probably still hear it in my voice a little bit. Sorry about that. And basically, I'm blaming it on my immune system being depleted because of this whole emotional roller coaster over the last month and the spotty sleep that I've been getting because of it, that sort of thing. I'm sure I'm all, depleted and all that good stuff, and I'm sure the germs just jumped on my head, basically. So, trying to put a happy face on it and hope that I regain my ability to ward off simple colds a little bit better. I did get one decent game session in. During that time, I unlocked all the rest of the Yavin 4 stronghold. So that was nice. It was good to see all of it. It's very pretty and all that good stuff. And I now have the little rooms on the sides where you can do those magnetic grappling clicks up to the next levels. That actually was kind of a nice surprise. I thought that was really cool. And so it was nice to have Yavin 4 completely unlocked. And then I just did heroics after that. It's all good. And but it was because I was sick. It was a very simple week. So let's just move right on to the tip of the week. We've got 4 of them this time, and Tio, go ahead and start us off.
Our first tip is from Mark. When doing the One for All achievement, that's the Star Fortress Heroic solo run, it seems best to make sure you get the killing blow on the last boss yourself, as opposed to your companion, or you may not get the achievement. My wife tried this over the weekend, but it never triggered the achievement when she finally completed it, which, considering the effort it takes to get it, is a very big disappointment. A bit of reading online, and people mentioned that one possible reason is that a character didn't get her the killing blow. Considering she's heal spec'd and she wasn't doing any damage, the companion would have got the killing blow, so that would fit. She did it again and made the companion passive around 3% and DPS the last bit, and this time she got the achievement. We can't be sure this is the reason why the achievement didn't register the first time, but it does seem likely. If nothing else, just knowing the achievement may fail to register may help anyone trying it from getting too disappointed when they have to do it again. So yeah, that is excellent advice. Again, we don't know for sure, but it wouldn't hurt. Put your companion, if they're doing DPS, on passive right near when the boss is about to go down, and then finish them off yourself.
Yeah. Okay. Second tip from Jessak on Ebonhawk. Slick GTN sellers on several servers have been posting Jologram flower delivery for multiple 100,000 credits. With Valentine's Day coming, I wanted to tell OotiniCast listeners to save your credits. These are available on Fleet from the Cantina bartenders for just 1,000 credits each. That makes sense.
Reminds me of the World of Warcraft thing where you put the milk, which you could get from the vendor, up for silly prices on the auction house. Same kind of deal. So there you go. Third tip is from Dorji Vajra. Now, he's a guy who is coordinating that open source, if you like, spreadsheet of SWTOR resources, which we do have linked on our sidebar on OotiniCast.com. But anyway, Dorji Vajra has actually put in a tip. He says, got a tip that could be useful. So I was doing a Kingpin bounty contract, trying to do a capture on Claw, and was disappointed when I accidentally killed him when dealing with some ads. Needless to say, this was disappointing, as this was my second attempt at capturing him. Well then, I thought, just before speaking to the bounty client, I wonder if I can reset it for another chance at capture. To my surprise, I could. I don't know why I didn't think of this sooner. So the tip is, if you fail at a capture on a contract, just reset after you kill that contract and you get another go at capturing until you do. So there you go. If you do accidentally capture them, if you do accidentally kill them, you can reset and then you can try it again. It will save a lot of people time, he says, and frustration when trying to complete the achievements. Ain't that the truth? So yeah, cool.
Yeah, that's what my big fear was, because I just had Trubba, and I had to capture him. And we were both freaking out, because it was Dekion and I, and he's like, hit the freeze! I was like, I got it, I think I got it! And it was just, yeah. So that's great to know now that I'm done with it. But yeah, good tip.
All right, fourth tip from Ewan on Jedi Covenant. While the gear from Heroic boxes are bound on pickup, the boxes they come in are not bound. I haven't tested to see if you can send them to another account, but they do go into the Legacy Bank. So it is possible to get your 61 and higher level character Heroic armor looks by doing Heroics on other characters and transferring the boxes. There we go.
Yep.
And
cool.
Let's see. By a random allotment, the winner is Dorji Vajra. So thank you. Congratulations, you're the winner of an M83R or Tonfon pet code, courtesy of BioWare, and an OotiniCast provided Cartel Market Pack from the latest shipment. And if you'd like a chance to win the same, please send your tips to OotiniCast@gmail.com by next Tuesday, and that will bring us to the holo feed. Dio?
Surprising amount of news to go through. So let's start with the fact that February 1st has come and gone. So if you were subscribed on February 1st, you would get your HK55 inspired jetpack, and you will get early access to Chapter 10 on February 9th, because it officially releases on February 11th. And you know how I feel about that. So anyway, if you subscribe Feb 1st, you will get early access and be playing Chapter 10 next Tuesday, which is when Game Update 4.1 will drop. So a whole bunch of other changes coming with that, which we've already talked about, crafting, for example. And just a reminder, we will not be getting the Eternal Championship, though we will be getting Blizz as a companion sometime in Chapter 10, and Baldar is also delayed until Chapter 11. Now, as far as that jetpack, you will apparently get it via in-game mail on next Tuesday, February 9th.
Okay.
Now, as far as Chapter 10, Anarchy in Paradise, this is the one where you're dealing with Firebrand, who may look awfully familiar to Imperial agents. And yeah, so anyway, that should be cool. I'm curious how long Chapter 10 will take us to play through. I guess we'll see. Will it be longer than an hour?
I don't know.
Well,
Hey, I just wanted to say something real quick here, because we do have like the HK reward that you have to be subscribed the whole time. You can't have any gaps or anything.
true.
And if anyone else is with U.S. Bank, they just recently sent out all their people new cards, basically, that have the new chips in them, essentially. And the old cards are now not working anymore. So if your subscription is, if you've got that subscriber via credit card, on SWTOR.com, you do have to go in, which I did, and update the card so that it reflects the proper number and in this case it seemed to just be a change of the actual close date, but the actual card number seemed to be the same. So if and mine would have actually rolled over early February, so I would have actually screwed that up if I hadn't checked that out.
Yeah. Glad you guys are finally getting the chipped credit cards. It's about time. Gotta say, they're fantastic. Chip and pin is what we use, or and PayWave is a thing where you just take your credit card and just wave it at the cash machine.
Yes, we've seen some of those too. Yeah,
that's wonderful. Anyway, that's not SWTOR. All right, next, if you've been interested in doing Conquest this week, you're a bit out of luck because it didn't work. Apparently, after the reset on Tuesday, when the invasion button should have lit up, it did not. So, yeah, and apparently they've looked at it, and the reason it didn't start is a little bit complex, and there's no way they can fix it. But they will be getting it going for next Tuesday with Game Update 4.1. So anyway, Conquest broken, but fixed for next week, so don't bother this week, because none of it's actually going to be doing anything. Now, we had this story live stream last Thursday. As a reminder, they're having 2 live streams each month. On the second Thursday of each month is the producer live stream, which was with Ben Irving. Sounds like he's going to be the guy going to be doing it. But 2 weeks after that, we have the story live stream, where they had Eric Musco doing the intro, and then it was Alexander Freed and Charles Boyd, a couple of the writers, both of them on SWTOR for ages and ages. So I won't actually go into detail in what was covered. If you want to, you can watch it yourself. They actually pushed it out to YouTube, which is a bit of a first for them. Usually it's just on Twitch, but now they've actually put it onto YouTube as well. So I'll link to that. And Dolphy has some quite extensive notes on her site about what was covered. A lot of it is very, very spoilery. So if you haven't actually done the story yet, I know most of us have, but if you haven't, then you should probably avoid it. But if you have, it's some interesting backstory.
Yeah. I especially liked how they talked about the certain companions and other characters, even for the basic class stories, and how they sort of developed them. That was some of the more interesting stuff for me.
And there was also a Q&A. They were asked whether we'd see more Mandalorians, and there is a bit of a suspicion that the next season will be somehow Mandalorian focused, though they do actually say they've got a future chapter planned where you can see what the Mandalorians are up to. And that was written by Alexander Freed, who was on the on the actual live stream. And also they asked, will Chapter 10 use the classic cutscene style seen with the Alliance specialists? So this had come up before, and I had just quite blithely said, no, it'll just be the usual cinematic storytelling, which is correct. They did confirm that is the way it will work. So for all the chapters going forward, all the regular story stuff, the main story stuff, it will continue to be the traditional cinematic storytelling. The Alliance stuff, where you just get the picture of them and your character doesn't speak, that is limited to interacting with the Alliance people. And there's going to be more Alliance stuff over time.
Okay.
But for the main story, proper cinematics, which is pretty important. Other than that, watch it if you like. And it does give some interesting background. They talk about the challenges of writing in this kind of environment, at least at some level. Though they did finish with, will Scorpio allow you to romance her? And the answer is, well, they actually asked whether people would want that. So presumably not yet, but if enough players want it, they might make it happen, which would all be very strange. But
She has a very weird mouth anyway, so I'm not sure how that would work with the kissing.
maybe you could swap in a different one, given she is a droid after all.
That's right.
All right.
Replace a lot of things.
That's right.
All right, let's talk about the cartel market changes that were introduced. They introduced what would be changing Game Update 4.1 last week. This is where we get our grand chance cubes and all the rest of it. So, Q&A basically. The cost of the packs will continue to be 200 cartel coins, but you will now have a higher chance of getting the gold and silver items than previously. So whatever the percentage was previously, it's increased for gold and silver. But remember, there are no longer bronze items. Instead, you get grand chance cubes if it was in that probability range. And so, and to answer my question, which I had, you can end up with 2 grand chance cubes. So remember, you've got 2 items in the pack. Each item has a chance of being gold or silver, or a grand chance cube, and you could actually end up with 2 grand chance cubes, but which you open, and then you get something from the past.
Okay.
And it just seems they are changing the drop rates so that silver and bronze will be easier to get. So they have actually adjusted the probabilities. They will not be adjusting collection unlock, so to unlock it across your legacy.
Okay.
Unlock it across your account, so that those prices will pretty much remain the same. And there will be more silver and gold items than there were in previous packs, because there are no longer bronze ones. So they haven't just replaced the bronze, they have increased the gold and silver as well. So I guess we'll see how this plays with the punters once it goes live in Game Update 4.1. I mean, it's an interesting idea. Gambling box within your gambling box, but don't know. They also said, that's actually in the wrong spot. Sorry, let me just move that. Pause. To there. Alright. Where was I? Anyway, that all goes live next week. Next, let's cover the Electronic Arts Q3 2016 earnings conference call. So we're all wondering about this just to see how SWTOR was doing. Now, overall, EA seems to have done pretty well. Chill, did you actually look at the financial performance more at the sort of company level?
No, not the company level. So, but
Okay.
but I took a quick look at this.
It was mentioned. SWTOR came up at least more than once, and the basic point was, as of Q3, and just a reminder, the earning this particular quarter ended with December 31st. So this is basically October, November, December.
Yes.
Subscriber levels had risen to their highest in nearly 3 years. Now, and that takes us back to, you go back 3 years, that was the last time they actually told us how many subscribers they had, and it was around 500,000 at that point. So it's pretty safe to say, you can infer that subs, at least at some point in Q3 in that quarter, had actually risen to 500,000. So, not too bad.
Yes.
Yep. Let me see.
Like I was saying on Twitter, with the launch of this particular expansion, it's kind of hinges on actually getting more subscribers. So it would have been kind of scary if they weren't getting sort of like, new, at least recent records, numbers of subscribers. Maybe, obviously not necessarily to the same amount right upon launch where it had that little burst, but certainly I would expect it to be the highest since free to play.
Now, the most interesting question, of course, is whether this will actually continue, because remember, you only had to subscribe for just a month, just be subscribed to actually unlock Knights of the Fallen Empire, and after that you could let your sub lapse and everything will still be open. The only thing you miss out on is the various rewards, the usual bonuses for being a subscriber, and access to the subsequent chapters. So it will be curious to see if this strategy is successful in terms of keeping people subscribed to get all that the added value, or whether everyone unsubbed en masse. Hopefully not, as far as them making money goes. And it was actually surprising to hear them talk quite so positively. This is Blake Jorgensen, the CFO. Our most recent update to SWTOR has fueled subscriber growth with its rich content and deep storytelling. So that's nice.
Right. They didn't specify the fact that they were specifically going after subscription growth, but still,
well,
it was nice to see him mention it.
It's kind of obvious, isn't it? Andrew Wilson, the CEO, said, leveraging the powerful Star Wars IP, we've now connected with players in large services across 3 games on 3 platforms and 3 business models. They talked about Star Wars Battlefront, Galaxy of Heroes, which is that mobile game, and in Star Wars The Old Republic, we've demonstrated the longevity of an experience that is great IP and content that continues to deliver enjoyment for our players. So, wow. Yeah, they are really saying nice things about SWTOR, so clearly
really are.
It must have impressed. So anyway, the question remains how they will do in the next quarter. I guess we will find out. But yeah, nice work so far.
Yeah, very good. And
I'm very interested in seeing what the retention rates are for that. That's the one thing I thought of. I was like, oh, I hope. Come on, people.
Yeah.
I can't help wondering whether there is this vast sea of players who aren't in the kind of almost the echo chamber, the people who are on the forums and who are also raiders for the most part, who are a little disappointed with the way things have turned out. But if they're only the loud minority, but there is a silent majority who are quite happy to subscribe and just get what they get and continued access to the story, everything's okay. The bet was the correct one. SWTOR will continue to make lots of money. We'll keep getting the game. Right. Not that they're going to shut it down or anything, but it does have to continue to perform well, or EA begins to look at it with a frowny face. And But so far, so good. So good.
One nice thing is the fact that they're successfully bringing back the subscription means that instead of the free-to-play model where it's, the majority of players paying very little to nothing and then a few players basically bringing in the bulk of the dollars, the whales, essentially.
Yep.
As a game developer, when you have that model, you have to aim everything towards the whales and keeping them happy, keeping their friends happy and so on. But it is sort of a limited part of the player base, and when you bring subscriptions back in this way, you're also saying that basically everyone who's playing right now has sort of a roughly equal voice. So
exactly,
kind of potentially it's a nice thing for us as players going forward.
Depending on what all those people want. Apparently they want story. That means we'll get lots more story, and that's fine. That's fine. More group experiences would be nice. All right, let's talk about part 2 of the crafting changes, because last week I only got partway through because I didn't know what the mission crew skill changes were about. I actually looked in a little more detail this time, and what they've effectively done is simplified it. The idea was there was a whole bunch of redundancy in it and a little disorganization, so they've made it better. So firstly, wealthy, rich, and bountiful missions, and remember the 5 levels from least to highest is moderate, abundant, bountiful, rich, and wealthy. And prosperous, which was on top of that, but they got rid of prosperous. So any existing prosperous missions, they were from the mission discovery objects, which you right-click on and learn the mission, and then do it as one-offs. Those which were prosperous have all been converted to wealthy. So I guess you should probably use those before Tuesday, because that's when the big conversion will happen.
Right.
Now, wealthy, rich, and bountiful are the only result of missions that can provide artifact, purple, quality crafting materials. So what I think that means is where you have a chance of critting a mission.
Yeah, that was my understanding. Is that different? Because I thought that the abundance were what you wanted for a long time. This could be 3 years old, though. But now they're saying the abundance aren't going to crit for you. And that'd be new. But I'm not like crafter extraordinaire or anything.
As far as I knew, only wealthy, rich, and bountiful could actually give you purple mats.
Yeah, that's what I thought, but...
Yeah. But alright, that one's a bit confusing, just the way it was worded. Already talked about that. Now, for all non-material specific missions, such as lockboxes and vendor materials, now only have one result level. So there's no longer a moderate or a rich companion gift mission. They are now simply called companion gift missions. Now, just as an example of this, I had a look at the missions at grade 4 on my trooper who has investigation.
Okay.
At grade 4, he had 2 moderate rank 4 companion gift missions, 2 moderate grade 4 research compounds, 3 of each, the research compounds and companion gifts at abundant level, 2 each at bountiful, and then at rich, 1 companion gift and 2 research compounds. So anyway, it was kind of a bit disjointed and all over the place.
Okay.
So what they're basically doing is smoothing that out. So for the actual materials, you'll get 2 moderate, 2 abundant, 2 bountiful, 2 rich. You can obviously still get those mission discovery objects to get the wealthy ones.
Mm-hmm.
What else? They've standardized the actual cost of the missions, and as I said, the companion gift ones, effectively, instead of having the ones at the different levels, they're just companion gift missions, which presumably have a fixed return, and for each grade it sounds like there's going to be 3. I guess it depends on the actual mission type.
Okay.
Now, companion gift missions no longer reward green companion gifts. It will always be blue or purple if it crits.
Huh.
So that's
Okay.
a cool change for sure.
Yeah.
And they have shuffled things around a bit just to kind of smooth things out. As you'll remember, with Game Update 4.0, they unlocked it so that instead of having to log in each time to get a different set of the available missions, you get them
Yes.
all. And now there's
Right.
that huge list, and that's where we're actually seeing all that redundancy, where there's like 3 at abundant, as I said, for investigation in some cases. And in the notes, in the post that they made, they actually went through the specific details of what they changed, and really it is just talking about smoothing out the number of missions per grade. So just expect pairs of moderate, abundant, bountiful, and rich at each grade, and that's pretty much the way it's going to work. You'll have 1 vendor material mission, where there is a vendor material, and 1 color crystal mission, like for archaeology, for example. And
Okay.
3 companion gift per grade, where it's one that has... where it has companion gifts.
Now, does anyone know which influence level do we start seeing our companions bring back crits on those missions?
Actually, I don't know what the percentages were. The way it used to work was every 2,000 2,000 affection up to 10,000, you got an extra, was it 1% crit? Up to a maximum plus 5? Or was it 2%? Anyway, I don't know what the scaling is. Yeah,
Right.
I'd have to check that.
Yeah, and Tino, if I'm reading this correctly, it says companion gifts missions are only available grade 1 to 5. There used to
Yes.
be rich on grade 6, so it sounds like that's being gotten rid of.
Was there? I don't remember ever getting companion gifts above 5.
Yeah, they're just on
As a
6,
mission.
and then they were rich usually, or at least that's the ones I've been doing.
Okay. Do you
So I'm
remember
wondering
what
if those will
crystal
still
that
be
was?
here. Oh gosh, well it would definitely be diplomacy, because that's the one I use typically.
And a
on a lot
return
of
grade
characters.
6 companion gifts?
No, it would return grade 5, but it was at level 6.
Okay.
So you could kind of double
Yeah.
up your rank 5 companion
Right,
gift
right.
missions.
Okay.
But I'm curious based on the reading of this, if they're going to get rid of those.
Yeah, it sounds like they are. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So what he's saying is you only up to grade 5 will there be companion gifts which match the grade of the actual companion gifts themselves, which are 1 to 5. And of course we have the new ones, but
Yeah.
we don't have missions to get them. So yeah, I'm pretty much sure that's the way it's going to be, Jill.
Oh well.
Yeah. Now, if there are schematics that are going away, like the fact that they're sort of moving color crystal schematics around, they will not take them off players. If anything, they'll be moved into that archive category for
Okay.
schematics which are no longer otherwise available. So you will still have them, but they will just be in that special category. And of course, no one else can get them. And finally, and This change is probably my favourite ever, and certainly my favourite in Game Update 4.1. It's a small thing. As you know, some items can stack up to a maximum of 99. They are changing it. So the maximum stack size will be 9,999. Yes, 100 times more. So I'm just seeing my cargo bay space suddenly get compressed, and in fact I could probably put all my mats in my legacy bank because I've opened up all 5 tabs. So wow, this is
nice.
It's so cool.
Yeah, that's going to be crazy. Sorry, I took over you.
That's fine. I just shouldn't be excited by such a trivial change, but it's awesome. Maybe it's just my wanting to organize tendency, but it's great.
Well, this is one of those quality of life changes that really should have been here a few years ago, but I'm really happy to see this.
Indeed. I agree. All right, should we talk about the Eternal Championship or delay it another week? Because we've got so much time. It doesn't matter. When did we start? 45 minutes. We've got a lot of feedback. No, we can talk about it. All right, now I did mention we were going to hold off doing the gear awards for the Eternal Championship. So there was a more detailed post by the developer who's in charge of it, Stephen Chu. So he gave a bit of background about what it's about. The Eternal Championship is the latest trend in entertainment among Zakuul's decadent upper class, who happily tour the lower levels of the capital to watch their social underlings engage in brutal death matches for fortune and glory. Anyway, that's the backstory.
Right.
And they said they'd talk about it more on the live stream, but I'm pretty sure they didn't. So they're probably going to hold off until it's closer to coming live in Chapter 11 in Game Update 4.2. In which there will also be a developer blog about it. To actually, the actual mechanics of it, you start the mission by picking up, you start it by picking up an access mission, just like you would with the Flashpoint. You begin at round 1, and then attempt to complete as many rounds as you can. And each round will grant you some common data crystals. And then after every round, you check in to decide whether you want to continue or cash out. So you actually do have to make a decision at a certain point. And the total number of data crystals you attain is obviously how many rounds you complete. And you can repeat it as many times as you wish by picking up the access mission again. Now that's a bit weird because this is a way of effectively farming common data crystal infinitely. It sounds like, if there's no cap, because you can just keep farming them, buy some companion gifts.
Right.
Keep going, buy more companion gifts. It's just time at that point, so... However, there are the 3 weekly missions for defeating 5, 7, and 10 bosses respectively, which will obviously have additional rewards. And those are, by definition, weekly, so that's okay. The fights themselves, each round consists of a single fight with a boss encounter, and there will be ads. So we were wondering whether it would just be you and something, but no, it's you and something with friends, potentially. In rounds 1 to 5, they involve a single major mechanic in addition to other combat abilities. And so these are catered towards players who are, finished the 9 chapters, and the whole point here is that this is a way of educating you, sort of guide you towards more complex fight mechanics. So this may involve defeating mobs in a particular order, stepping out of AoE, area of attack things, keep out of the red, managing multiple mobs at once, interrupting abilities. All these things you should learn. They do mention that it will just prolong the fight rather than necessarily causing you to fail in rounds 1 to 5. But these are all good things that players should learn for actually doing flashpoints and any other group content. So
yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah.
And we've been saying, and a lot of guests have been saying, folks are leveling so quickly that they just don't really learn their characters really, or how to play them, or the best ways to play them, or how to deal with difficult fights. So this is a very good thing.
Effectively a training ground, yeah. However, once you step into round 6 and continue on to round 10, if you don't deal with those mechanics, it will have a more significant impact. So interesting though. So they're trying to strike a balance between challenging and frustrating. If you're in the best gear, it's not going to cause you too much trouble, but they do, as they've said before, want it to be satisfying.
That's kind of cool because those of us who haven't really been into the whole group content thing, I still like to know how to do things, but it would be less intimidating to learn it via a solo match than by jumping into a pug and being told you're a random and kicked out of a group, which is sad.
Now remember, you can do it with friends, but you won't get the rewards, because the rewards are for doing it solo. So if you did want to train together, you could certainly use it for that, which is a nice idea.
So what happens if you do lose a round? Do you have to start over?
I was wondering that. So they talk about cashing in or continuing. Maybe it just means that if you're done, that's when you get your rewards. But otherwise, you continue. But if you lose a round, presumably you get to try it again. I would assume you can just repeat it infinitely until you either do it or you choose to cash out.
Or you give up.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, they did talk about rewards. The weekly for defeating 5 bosses is 204 gear. For defeating the 7 bosses, the weekly reward is an arena token for exchanging for 208 gear. And finally, if you defeat 10 bosses, you get a token for 216 gear, which is the same as you would get from story mode operations, but these are not tier pieces, so you will not have a set bonus with them.
Okay.
So it's not too bad, but yeah. They actually say that rounds 8 to 10 are catered towards players working towards hard mode, flashpoints, and story mode operations, and so they're trying to make the rewards roughly equivalent, so you can expect that the fights will be of similar difficulty you would find in a hard mode flashpoint.
Cool.
Yeah. Oh, they also say they're static gear, which basically means it's not moddable, so just be aware of that. So the rating is high, so the stats will be good, but it's fixed. If you want the moddable gear that's flexible, again, you have to do the real group content to get the moddable gear, which is fair enough.
Thank goodness for Outfit Designer.
Yes, there is that. I was thinking of dressing my characters in legacy gear, and some of it is god-awful. So with the outfit designer, at least it's all nicely hidden.
Yeah. I'll be interested to see what this gear looks like, too.
Yeah. And in addition to all that, you do get, for the Boss 7 has a chance to drop a new mini-pet, and Boss 10 has a chance to drop a new mount. There'll be achievements, there'll be titles, so there's all that stuff as well.
Nice.
I really wish this was coming next week, but no, you will have to wait until March for Chapter 11 for the Eternal Championship. Alright, that's the SWTOR news. Well, just in community, B, did you want to talk about Dread's Utini events?
Yeah, I can do that. So, Dread is one of our guild members, and he, like a lot of us, is kind of missing the group content and playing just the chance to play with each other. It's so much fun. And so he has organized a whole month of events, which is going to be super awesome. The first one's this coming Saturday, February 6th. It's going to be the Utini Hunt, and these events all start at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. American time. I have no idea what time that is anywhere else except here. It's at 7, which is Central Time. So let me look this up quickly.
It's going to be 5 o'clock Pacific.
Okay. The Utini Hunt. So it's going to be a scavenger hunt. He's going to have different items that people are going to have to pick up. And the first one to return will be rewarded. It looks like 2 million credits. So that's kind of worth it in my book. Some people, maybe Bill. It wouldn't be, but that's kind of huge to me. So it's going to be level 60 plus because you do need a ship. And you might go to planets that require 60 plus.
Right.
So that's pretty cool. There are some requirements. This is all in the forum if you want to look it up. You got to have the money to travel, basically, and the level to get to the planet. So that's the first event, this Saturday, February 6th. Be there, be square. Dekian and I are both planning on being there, so it's going to be fun. Next week, on Tuesday, February 9th, when for subscribers everything drops, we're going to start a week-long event. So he's organized the Utini Conquest.
Hopefully it's working next week.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I thought. I was like,
You're right.
hopefully it's working. Full-on race to get the most conquest points during the week. So this is by character only and not across your legacy. So one character. Person with the highest conquest points will take home another 2 million credits. So let's see. He says planet with the most variety of things will be chosen during the week. So then the Saturday following, on the 20th of February, we will have the Utini race. So 2 pod races that will take place on 2 pre-selected planets, and each winner is going to win 1 million credits. So you have to own a pod racer mount. You must own a pod racer mount, and you must be over level 45. Because Bel Savis might be one of the locations. might be.
Can you be either Empire or Republic, or is it just one side?
Good point. It's only on nights. So all of these
so it's
events are on
Republic.
Utini nights, so Republic side. He said if there's overwhelming response to this, he might organize one on the Rage side as well. So everyone show up so he has more to do. He loves this stuff.
Now, pod racers, there's that one red one off of the cartel market, and then there's the one you get for referring a friend. I'm trying to remember what other pod racers there might be. Those are the only 2 I can remember right off the top of my head.
I am not the mount knower of all things. That would be Dekion. Do you know Dekion?
I think there's 3. There's another one that looks like the Cloud City cars from Empire Strikes Back.
Okay. Is that a cartel market? Must be
Believe
cartel
it
market.
is.
Okay.
Yeah, I think most of them are cartel market.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if it's a general cartel market one, like the red one, or out of a particular pack or something. Just kind of curious. I mean, because if that is one of the requirements, it's fairly stringent.
Dread says
Kind of.
about 5 in game.
Oh yeah,
actually
you can
link
ask him
to
questions in the chat. He's there.
I'll actually link to a page which will list out the 5 pod races, or link to them individually, because I can probably lock them up somewhere. Do you want to cover any more, Fee, or is that enough for now?
There's one more, the 27th of February, again on a Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, or whatever, Eastern Time. Platforming challenge, the OotiniCron. The Datacrons were one of my favorite parts of this game. Super challenging, but super incredible to get that Mecheb Datacron. Like when I did that, it took me, I think, I'm not exaggerating by saying it took me 7 hours, so I'm probably not going to be a part of this one if that's if that's the one we're doing, because nobody's going to wait for that. But this is a platforming challenge to reach 2 Datacrons on pre-selected planets. So who knows? Maybe it will be Mecheb. Maybe it'll be something else. Each winner is going to get 1 million credits again.
Yep.
Requirements level 55 plus and mad platforming skills. So that
cool.
immediately throws me out of the game, but I love it anyway. It's super fun.
Yeah.
So yes, 8 p.m. on Utini nights, and he would like everyone to log in, and so he can get you in the raid group before 7:45. So about 15 to 20 minutes before he wants to start these things. Log in, whisper him, let him know, get yourself in the raid group, and then just have fun. So he wants you to let him know in game or here on the forum if you want to play.
All right,
And I'd
I'll link
also
to all
like
that. Go ahead.
I'd like to mention for the Datacron runs, a really great resource, and this is one thing that Fee and I pretty much lived off of during our time running the Datacrons, is our guildmate Kuze's YouTube videos.
Indeed.
They are super detailed. He explains everything. He even has almost a tutorial on the 5 or 6 ways to walk and the different distances that you can jump.
Yep.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yep.
I would suggest definitely
Backboarding and all that. Yeah, it's really good.
And
All right.
also worth a mention is that Ivalon has helped with the prizes for this. So another guildmate, Ivalon, doubled the prizes that Dread was going to give us. So kudos to both of them and for everyone who's going to come out. So definitely come out. Ask us if you want more information. we can get you to the forum or get you the information. So just look for us in the guild. We're always happy to talk.
I'll link to it in our show notes as well. It's also at the top of OotiniCast.com, the link to the forum post. And just to sweeten the pot a little bit, we got a donation of a Hypercrate from Nick. And I'm going to hand that over to Dredd, and it'll be up to him how many he wants to distribute as extra prizes. Hypercrate of cartel packs. So that'll make things even sweeter.
Wow, people are getting involved. That's so cool.
It is.
That's really great.
So thank you, Nick, and yeah, should be cool. Anyway, that's a new... Oh, one more thing, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Palace says, to answer Decion's question from earlier, Palace says that on Dolphy's side it mentions there is a 0.5% critical rate increase for crew skill tasks per influence rank, all the way up to 50. So presumably,
25%.
if you max at 50, the 25%, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to cut that in for later. All right, anyway, and that's the news.
All right, that brings us to the Force Feedback, where we read out your tweets and emails. And chat room, if you have any questions to ask, we'll gather them now to answer once we're done with the feedback. And Udonzu in Utini Rage wrote, I finally caught up on all the OotiniCasts. I've really enjoyed the podcast. It's been very entertaining and informative. Keep up the great work, and look forward to joining you guys very soon in the live chat. Thanks, Udo. And let's see, Reist of the Harbinger wrote, during some of the most recent broadcasts of the show, Tio's made mention of reading the Brian Daley authored Han Solo Adventures novels, which is Han Solo at Star's End, Han Solo's Revenge, and Han Solo and the Lost Legacy. These novels were for the longest time largely forgotten by the Star Wars fan community. Even following the resurgence of the Star Wars novels, starting with Timothy Zahn's Thrawn trilogy in the early 90s, they were largely ignored by fans of the expanded universe, which is now called Legends. Since Tio expressed such enjoyment from his reading of this series, he may also be interested in two other trilogies of Star Wars novels. Let's see. Yeah. Each book in the first series was published in 1983, shortly following the original release of Return of the Jedi. These books are collectively known as the Lando Calrissian Adventures by L. Neil Smith. This series contains the titles Lando Calrissian and the Mind Harp of Sharu, Lando Calrissian and the Flame Wind of Ocean, and Lando Calrissian and the Star Cave of Thon Boca. Wow. Crazy names. The second trilogy series, authored by A.C. Crispin, is known as the Han Solo Trilogy and was published starting May 1997 with The Paradise Snare. This was followed in August of 97 by The Hutt Gambit and concluded in March of 98 with Rebel Dawn. It's my opinion, having read all 9 books years ago, that the Han Solo trilogy is the series that provides the binding for the story chapters that are Han Solo and Lando Calrissian adventures. In the greater story, presented by Crispin's trilogy, the two adventure series go from being essentially disconnected, one-off series to being sections of a greater story. Crispin's Han Solo trilogy is a read brilliant for the backstory it adds to the characters of Han, Lando, and Chewbacca. In filling a gap of approximately 10 years leading up to A New Hope, Crispin also leaves gaps in her narrative to account for time taken up by the 2 earlier published trilogies. With this act, she had taken Daly's and Smith's series and made them part of the EU/Legends proper. I could go on as far as what tidbits Crispin added to each of these characters' backgrounds, but I think the real singular contribution to the Star Wars universe that this series made was to finally give a satisfying explanation as to why the heck Han gave a measure of distance when asked if the Falcon was a fast ship. Happy reading.
Yeah, that explanation remains a little dodgy, having to do with trying to wend a path around black holes, which distort time and space.
Oh, yeah, I think it's brilliant.
Sure. Yeah,
that's
well,
right.
it
Remember,
sort of is, but...
That's right.
Yeah. Now, I have
Time
actually
and
read
space are interchangeable.
Well, it's true. The Han Solo trilogy, I have actually read those a while ago. I'm now reading the Brian Daley Han Solo adventure novels, and I have just obtained the Lando Calrissian Adventures on his advice, so I will read them next. I'm almost finished the Brian Daley trilogy. It's taking me forever, but yes. So Lando Calrissian next, and thank you, Reist, for that suggestion.
Okay. Let's see. Inro Keeg wrote, it has become so easy to level these days, I thought I'd try something that I hoped would make it more difficult. I ran my sniper through his story just doing the agent storyline with my act dog. It was more difficult and challenging since it seems that once you get 5 levels below an NPC, they become resistant to your damage, and only my companion was barely doing anything. Also, even NPCs that were 3 to 4 levels higher would dispatch me fairly easily. It was at this point that I did run a few heroics to gear up a little and gain a level or two. So there is a way to play the storyline with a little challenge if you're wanting one.
So basically, since it's 6 times XP now, just doing the class story is not enough, and you will fall behind, and the level sync works to lower content to your current level rather than raising your level to the content. And thus, you will outlevel the content, and it will become challenging as he's done. So there you go. Of course, it still seems like it's rushing through it, but that's just me.
Yeah, that was one thing we noticed because we do have the baby alts we just made. We're running through Tython and everything's getting super easy, and then suddenly, bam, you get level synced, and you're like, whoa, this is much more difficult. So I didn't even notice it. Dekion was the one who's like, oh, did you notice? I'm like, yeah, it takes longer, but yeah, he noticed it. It was amazing. It's kind of nice.
Yeah, I agree. Basically, there is nowhere you can go where the content isn't at least vaguely challenging. So, cool.
All right, Gas Guy, longtime friend of the show, wrote, I found this very interesting and valid. And there's a link to the Star Wars Saga suggested viewing order. Tio?
The Machete order, specifically. And it's an order of watching the 6, or the 2 trilogies with the original Star Wars movies. And the Machete order is, watch them in this order. Episode 4, A New Hope. Episode 5, Empire. Episode 2... which is what? I can't remember.
Attack of the Clones.
Attack of the Clones, and Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. And then, finally, you watch Return of the Jedi, which is Episode 6. You'll notice they have left out Episode 1, because, well, why wouldn't you? And it more or less makes it more sort of Luke's story with Vader, rather than having the young Anakin thing. So I may actually try this next time I do a complete watch through.
And presumably if you wanted to be a completionist and watch all 6, you'd just watch 1 before 2, essentially.
Indeed. So, yeah, you get to... So basically you watch Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back, you find out about Luke,
about
I am
Luke
your
and
father,
Vader.
And then you go and find out Vader's
More
backstory.
about Anakin. Okay.
And then you come to the conclusion of it in Return of the Jedi, which is, why not? So anyway,
That's not
yeah,
bad,
that was
actually.
very interesting, and yes, skipping episode 1 does seem like a really good idea.
All right, Ryan wrote, one thought on the new accuracy stims. Since we only need 110 accuracy for tough operation bosses, we can now change our gear mods to have more DPS stats for higher DPS with a mastery stim, and switch to accuracy stims for bosses only. It effectively lets us not have to spec in as much accuracy on our gear when we really only need it for about 1% of the time that we're playing.
That's true.
Interesting.
That's very true, yeah. Cool, yeah.
Okay. Kuze wrote, greetings, OotiniCast. In fact, this is, of course, Kuze who did the jumping videos that were just mentioned just a few minutes ago. Greetings, OotiniCast. I have a lot to say on the topic of whether raids are dying, but no need to go into that now. One thing that did catch my attention was the poster using the Rise of the Hutt Cartel expansion as an example of a failed expansion that was raid-focused. Rise of the Hutt Cartel was also used on Reddit as an example in the same fashion. What people seem to forget or don't know is that the game was in a bad shape way before Rise of the Hutt Cartel. I could easily argue the point that Hutt Cartels helped save the game from further decline. Actually, in my opinion, Rise of the Hutt Cartel was SWTOR's best expansion. Not only did it have raids, it had a completely new planet story, extensive side quests like the secret droids and the macro binoculars, crafting changes at launch, difficult platforming for people that love to explore, dailies, and more. BioWare has the potential to make a great game in any format and not just story. And yes, I'm greedy, and I want everything.
An excellent point, because McKeb really was pretty amazing in terms of its just sheer breadth and content. So, yeah, raid focused? Really? No, not at all. Jill, could you remind me that once we're done with the show, I have to introduce the Academy and play, well, I'll include later, Swoderista's segment that she sent us. So I'm not going to actually play it on the video, but I will include, and I do need to do an intro for it. So just remind me if I forget. Thank you.
Okay. You want to do it after the outro, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Tandem wrote, "Hey guys, thanks for another good show. Haven't played the game in a few weeks, but still got to listen to my favorite SWTOR podcasts. It's good that BioWare finally backed off the nightmare loot idea. I always had a feeling they'd eventually come back and play the companion nerf reversal card and give themselves a pat on the back for how much they listened to the players. Given how long it took them to reverse on Lootgate, I think that BioWare deep down thought this was still a great idea, especially given their reasoning that they were gating and slowing down 224 gear progression. That doesn't make sense to me. If you're targeting the guys who can clear nightmare mode, they can most likely farm hard mode on multiple tunes and send the gear through Legacy. So that point is moot. Allowing 224 to drop from hard mode, I'm looking at you, KP and EV. Those are snoozes and give the best gear. It doesn't add up. I'm glad they made the choice, but it just seems so long for such an easy call. In regards to future group content, I have suspected we won't be seeing any new ops until 2017 since this dev post back in December. And he gives a link. Did you want to say anything about that particular one, Tio?
No.
Okay. Factoring this post with what they told us back during the Kotfi buzz, there will be no new operations with Kotfi, and the announcement that the operations team lead leaving, it became apparent to me that ops content wouldn't even consider until August or September when they finish the story. I think a lot of us hoped against hope that there will be no new operations with Kotfi meant at launch, and hoped that they would have something out early 2016. Clearly, not the case. The best case scenario is that the new operations are completed, and that they're sitting on them until August or September, and the operations are essentially the close of the Kotfi story. Worst case is they are totally done creating operations, and we just get no more ever, and we could speculate to eternity about all the possibilities in between.
Well, we actually have enough information to know that it's neither of those extremes. Mm-hmm. They could produce new operations. They are not yet, from what they've said. It's pretty clear they're not working on them, but they could start soon. It seems like they're focusing on that new war zone, which they'll talk about basically in a couple of weeks. And
they definitely don't have one in their back pocket.
Clearly, they are not. They haven't done it. They're not sitting on it because everything implies that that is not the case. So, yes, they may still do them. In fact, there's a pretty good chance they will, I would say. But yeah, don't expect them before the latter half of this year.
Right, Dekion, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I wonder how difficult it would be for them to raise the difficulty level to a hard mode or a nightmare mode for the Eternal Championship, and to kind of turn that into an operation.
Yeah, it's just a lot of boss encounters. I mean, yes, you could make that group focused, but it doesn't sound like it's oriented like that. But yeah, sure. There was a raid in WoW that was along those lines, where it was just a big Colosseum style, just fight the bad guys in different rounds. So it'd be along those lines as a raid. Who knows?
Yeah, I remember that one. Don't remember what it's called anymore, but I remember it. All right, let's see. Continuing on, there's a little bit more from Tandem. Let's see. Before I heard the podcast, I had glanced over the thread that you're referencing of removing raids from MMOs, and I thought this guy was a total troll. I agree with a lot of what you all said. If there is no group content, why did you have MMOs? There are plenty of games that are much cheaper to play alone. I don't think you can get rid of raids or group content and still have an MMO, at least one that I want to play. I think there might be an argument to be made that there will be a reduction in scale, that is, games focusing on smaller and smaller groups. Perhaps anecdotal, but you can already see it with WoW that moved away from 40 mans, and SWTOR was always a 16/8 man setup. Perhaps the next gen of group content, meaning raids, will be 5 to 6 man content, or even scalable depending on group size.
Scalable raids were very, very successful for WoW in recent years, so I would love to see that in SWTOR. Maybe a minimum of 4 or something, and then scale up from there. Wouldn't that be great?
Yeah, they've done some scaled things recently. I don't remember what, but I remember seeing this as a scaled event, no matter who. So based on how many people are going into the instance, they're going to scale it. So maybe that is actually what they're thinking. But yeah, I would love that. That'd be great. Scalable.
All right. James wrote, "My guild and I, which is Chill on the Harbinger server, no relation, essentially packed it up and quit after years of progressive raiding around Thanksgiving. Of the 40 plus raiders, most were 90 to 100% ops complete, and collectively we decided there was no reason for us to play SWTOR any longer. Some went back to WoW, others are checking out Blade and Soul. Aside from the lack of content for us, the worst part is the loss of our community.
Yes, a very common story, but
Yep.
nothing to
But
it.
right, since the subscribers are actually going up, presumably this the amount of raiders leaving is being more than replaced by the amount of new folks coming in.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that's for us old timers, that is just seems to be the way of it. Fiona?
Yeah, I was just going to say there are actually, I know some people on our guild have decided they're not going to play until something else comes that they want to do, which is completely legitimate.
Yeah.
But we have a ton of new people in the guild. We are constantly letting people in as members, and it would be great to be able to get everyone involved and to build that community back up again. It may be different, but it's still there. And there's nothing wrong with new people joining in with old people. It could be really cool. And I look forward to playing with some other people and learning about the new people as well. It's been fun in chat, so join in.
Yeah.
Cool.
And last email.
Yep. And last email is from Gary. My name is Gary. I'm a 40-year-old gamer who enjoys playing a lot of games. I am passionately casual about my SWTOR experience and want to share this with the community. If only to let everyone who listens to the podcast know that this community is so much more than raiders who want more operations. 3 friends and myself started playing 3 years ago. After the first year, 2 of my friends had some life stuff happen and stopped playing. I continued to have fun without them. I discovered SWTOR Reforged podcast and got excited because when I couldn't play, I could listen to other people talk about the game and have fun with it. That spread to OotiniCast, and then Rhodes podcast, and then Max and Seema, then Bad Feeling podcast. All a fantastic community, and I know there are more. Nothing bad against the others, just don't have time to listen to everything. Now current day, I listen to Bad Feeling podcast and OotiniCast every week and catch up on SWTOR Escape every other week. Coming from a non-raider, I can say that I've made some good friends from these shows. I got to join AIE on JC, Jedi Covenant, of course. Thank you. And Has a Bad Feeling on what is now Shadowlands. Which using WhatsApp, I talk to several guys almost daily in Has a Bad Feeling Gen Chat and consider them to be friends of mine now. I log in several times a week to do many things. Story content was fun, and I've been through all but one class, which I'm working on now. This is still an MMO. There's a huge appeal to be playing in a persistent world set in the Star Wars universe. Add coffee to that, and I think it's even more amazing. A chapter every month, I love it. I play with 4 friends that I see or talk to daily. We do not run operations or PvP or even GSF. What we do is use the game as a social gathering and play in the big sandbox that we love. Sometimes we run one or several heroics or a flashpoint. I enjoy the meta game that is the GTN, and another friend loves crafting, while another one loves decorating strongholds, all of which are easily worth the daily 50 cents that we pay. Would I play operations? Hell yeah, I would. Anything with the right group of people is a good time. Add that group of people with a passion for Star Wars, who doesn't want to play? My personal life does not allow me the commitment to a dedicated time slot for a single or multiple days a week. What SWTOR has done is give me the flexibility to work my game time around my work and personal life, and I love it. As I typed this up, I was chatting with some guys and has a bad feeling, and one guy brings up a great point. Perhaps I'm spinning my wheels here. Podcasters and those who listen are more hardcore than casual players. All the negativity I keep hearing is normal when that group of people are raiders who aren't interested in story as such. The casuals... The casuals who this whole letter would pertain to will probably never hear it. In the end, I am okay with no new operations, and I'm happy with what BioWare has done this past year. It has kept me subscribed and will likely continue to do so. That's he's Yekturlo the Jedi Sage on Shadowlands, or Zessor Bounty Hunter on Jedi Covenant.
I actually can't agree more with Gary. A lot of the things that he said really kind of ring and kind of hit home with me because, I still consider myself a casual SWTOR gamer. I haven't done all of the operations, so if I do an operation that I've never done before, it's new content.
That's right.
So I look at it that way. And he mentioned the 50 cents a day. this game to me at $15 a month has great value. Just in entertainment, it's definitely worth. It's a few bucks more than Netflix. It's a lot. It's cheaper than going to a movie which lasts just a few hours. I get an entire month. I get to spend time with my friends out on Utini, meeting new people. I get to play with Fee, and I really agree with what he said.
It is an interesting contrast between the raiders who have run out of stuff to do and are moving on, and players who are perfectly content to play it as it is. And if those subscription numbers are anything to go by, maybe there's a lot more of them than there are the raiders. And that's okay. That's okay. It's just, this is the game that SWTOR is becoming. And if you don't like it, move on, but it really is a fun Star Wars universe, and the only one out there. The only Star Wars MMO, so where else are you going to find lightsabers?
Yeah, and the point that he made about would he do operations? Yes, of course. That's exactly where I am, and have been since I joined this guild. Have I ever been a hardcore raider? No. There's a couple times when Tio has been in chat and he's like, "Hey, do you want to heal this raid?" And I'm like, I think I gotta go color my hair or something. It just makes me super nervous. But it's always been fun. And I've never been told, I'm been kicked out of the guild because I'm terrible at it, and it's been fun. So, like he said, if the right people are there, if you're having fun, and if you're, in my case, a little bit easier on yourself, then, you can have a lot of fun doing anything in this game. So I really enjoyed that letter too. So thanks, Gary, whoever you are, for writing it.
Agreed.
Yeah. And I'm sort of coming around to this point of view as well. It's taken me a while, partly because I was bummed because we're not raiding consistently anymore. We sort of get together sort of at the same time, but we're playing different games or doing different things in SWTOR or whatever. But I find that on the non-operations nights, I'm actually finding ways to level with friends, or not even level with friends, but just do heroics and stuff with friends, and shoot the shit on Skype or Mumble or whatever, and that's actually really fun, and it's actually really helpful for me right now, just because it's nice to hear someone else's voice when I'm playing. These last few weeks, obviously have been a bunch of changes, and it's been nice to actually play with people and actually be able to hear their voice while we're playing. So, and it's kind of reminded me that, even though we end up doing a lot of the same heroics, week after week, it doesn't really matter, because the fun part is the fact that we're chatting together and just sort of having fun in the game, but mostly just conversing. So.
All right, let me just do the Academy. All right, our next segment is the second installment of the Academy. This time, SWTORista, who is not obviously on the show, has actually pre-recorded a segment for us about the outfit designer and how to use it. How to dress your space Barbies. Over to you, SWTORista.
Nice.
Thank you very much, SWTORista. All right, Shell.
All right, excellent. That's a show. If you'd like to play with us in the Utini Knights Guild on the Republic side of the Harbinger server, or in our Guild on the Empire side, do a /C join Utini to join the Utini channel. Then let us know you're a fan of the show. You can email questions and comments about the show to utinicast@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter using @UtiniCast. You can find contact details for all of us on our website, utinicast.com, which includes how to subscribe to us using iTunes, Stitcher, and the rest. We record the show live every Wednesday at 4:30 p.m. Pacific. Go to utinicast.com/live to find out how to join in. Our theme song is from Mevio's Music Alley. Check it out at music.mevio.com. That's MEVIO. And thank you to the chat room, and thank you to Fiona and Dekion.
Yay, thank you for having us. It's very fun.
Yeah, definitely. And I think we may have even achieved the Run Jawa Run achievement.
Well done.
Excellent. We'll see you next week.
All right, guys, just keep recording until we're off the air, and we'll sync it up. But anyway, thank you everyone for watching. Next week we have SWTORista back on, and I don't know who yet. maybe Yvelon will be free. He's actually been really busy of late because it would actually be good to have him on again as well. But I'm sure we'll work out something, or just have her on with the two of us. Either way.
Cool.
And of course, Chapter 10 will be here next week, and we will have played through that, no doubt, and we can talk about how that went, and the crafting changes, which are no doubt awesome, and the patch notes, and everything. So yes, what's happening next week. Anyway, thank you everyone for watching, and I will now stop the broadcast. Thank you guys.